as people are trickling in and getting themselves comfortable, I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself, kind of do some housekeeping, introduce our speaker. So for those of you who haven't seen my beautiful face before, my name is Devanshi Mathur. I am EduSmart's marketing coordinator, but more importantly, today I will be Dr. Rosales' sidekick. So while she's presenting, I will be answering all your questions in the chat box, taking care of any technical difficulties you might be having. So by all means, please use our chat box, put in your questions, and I will feed them to Dr. Rosales at the very end during our Q&A. A little bit of housekeeping. So tomorrow afternoon, you will be receiving a recording of today's presentation, as well as a copy of the slide deck you're going to be viewing. If you are interested in receiving an attendance certificate, all you have to do is just reply to that email with how you would like your name printed, and I will get that to you as soon as I can. So now you can listen to Dr. Rosales all day long, follow along the slide deck, and have a certificate with your name printed on. We have many webinars coming your way. We are planned all the way through April. So please check out. We have webinars on supporting Spanish-speaking students, data-responsive education, and so much more. So please routinely check our website or just open your email and see what new events we have coming your way. I know that some of us today are new to EduSmart, and this is your first time interacting with us. So I just wanted to take a moment and introduce EduSmart. EduSmart is a learning management system built by and for science educators. Since 2007, EduSmart has been passionate about supporting science teachers and students by providing standards-based content designed to engage students, support teachers, and make science fun and memorable. We are based in Austin, Texas, so due to the leadership of Dr. Arlene Kaur, who's joining us here today, we are now in Florida as well. We serve over 1,000 campuses and over 250,000 students and teachers. Now, I know you weren't here to listen to me talk, so let me introduce our woman of the hour, Dr. Ava Rosales. She is the former executive director of the Miami-Dade County Public Schools Department of Science, which is the 4th largest school system in the United States. She is a veteran educator, administrator with over 32 years of experience in science and STEM education, curriculum development, teaching and learning, educational leadership, and teacher professional development. Dr. Rosales believes in and remains committed to the national movement of systemic reform of STEM science. So please give a huge round of applause to Dr. Rosales.
Thank you so much, Devanshi. What a great introduction. Thanks, everyone. I see you're using your little chat emojis. I love it. I love it. We're going to be doing an interactive presentation today, and I hope you will participate because that lets me know if I am meeting your needs and if I need to slow down or move faster. So please be ready to engage when we ask. So today we're looking at preparing for high-stakes assessments. And my computer will cooperate, maybe. So here we have a journey. We all took a journey to be here today. So my question for you is, how did we get to where we are? And you have a collage in front of you, and I want you to use your chat box and tell me what comes to mind as your first impression. As scientists, what are the observations that you can make about this collage and about me? Don't be shy.
We have a few answers trickling in. We have Brenda writing, this change over time.
Ah.
We have education is important. Family-oriented.
Good. Nice. I love all of those observations. So we'll take a couple more.
We have you are an educated educator and education has been a priority in your life.
Wonderful.
And you played field hockey?
Well, thank you for that, Devanshi, and thank you for all who participated in the chat. And I'm going to look forward to seeing some of these other comments when we complete today's presentation. So that is actually not field hockey. Something that is not very obvious in this collage is that I am doing an engineering project with my classroom students. And I am dressed up because that was my Teacher of the Year region finalist outfit that I went to take pictures in. And so afterwards, couldn't let the kids down because we had this day planned with our local civil engineer, and they actually completed a beautiful cement side patio for our school. So my father, my late father, was a civil engineer. So that probably sparked my passion for grooming future engineers. And the little hat up in the corner that says SECME Inc., that is an organization that I have been affiliated with for well over 25 years. And these students were part of SECME by default. And SECME actually groomed me to be the leader that I am today. And those children in that school where I'm at, that I was at for 12 years, is Macmillan Middle. And that made me the teacher that I am today. And you were absolutely right for those who said family oriented. My mom is actually the artist behind this collage. And the person up in the corner is actually my professor for my doctoral studies. And yes, you may have seen a little family portrait in the back in the picture where I'm standing, and that's of my grandmother. So there is so much that we can see when our kids come into the classroom. And then there are things that are really hidden that help to form the people that they are today. So let's take a look at beginning at the beginning, day one, when these little students come into our classrooms. How prepared are they once they enter our classroom? We know that they come with certain content knowledge. They have content knowledge gaps. They have reading and mathematics proficiency or deficiencies. Their maturity. Are they ready and prepared for the work that's ahead of them? Support mechanisms. Do they have a strong family foundation? And what are their study skills like? Have they ever studied? Sometimes content comes very easy for children and they may not know how to study because it's always been easy for them. Are they eager to learn, especially a subject like science, where sometimes you may not have the reading and the math proficiency, but that eagerness can make all the difference. And then, of course, we have their work habits. So our session goals today are, will we be able to plan for student success on high stakes assessments? We're going to be able to identify and access high quality, standards aligned resources to facilitate student success and reflect on our instructional practices. So here we go, one more time to engage. Let's take the poll. What are your feelings towards high stakes assessments? So in the center of your screen, love them. Yes, totally not a fan. At times, I both love them and maybe sometimes I'm not a fan. So I see the numbers are coming in. I have nobody who says love them. So yes, it's a mixed bag. So yep, sometimes you love them and sometimes you're not a fan. It seems to be the one winning out. Okay, so let's see if we might relaunch this poll at the end again, Devanshi, to
Sounds
see
like a
if
plan.
we have differing. So we're at 71% both and 29% not a fan. So let's take a look at some pros and cons. So from the field, just as many of you indicated that you were not a fan, and some said that sometimes I'm a fan. You're probably a fan sometimes because we know that assessments demonstrate student understanding of content, the knowledge that they bring or have attained. It assesses and identifies learning deficiencies so that we can provide mechanisms to support students who are lacking certain content or skills. And it helps to provide an overall look at a school, a district, how they're performing. And we know that there are a lot of cons. There's the instructional time infringement, that you don't get to teach everything that you want to teach the students. Again, because kids come in at different levels. The pressures that you may find or feel because of these high stakes assessments that are on your evaluation, or on your school's evaluation, on your district's evaluation, and the anxiety felt by students and teachers, and even sometimes the parents, and of course, administration, because everything, it's all tied together. But even with that said, pros and cons, there is one common focus that both have, and that is you're focused on the child's education, allowing them to succeed and giving them the best possible chance that they can get to be successful and productive members of society. So, where did it all begin? Well, we know that there has been tremendous disparity across the nation in terms of children's schooling. Um, and if we even look not across the nation, within a state, there's disparity with education. There is disparity when you look at a district, even within a district, from school to school, within a school, from classroom to classroom, and even within the classroom, there may be disparity with how we reach children. So teaching is very difficult. This is not to take that away from anyone and point fingers, but there are ways that we can help to give support mechanisms to teachers and to students. So No Child Left Behind, it shined a light on showing that we needed to make progress and we needed to provide additional support regardless of race, income, zip code, disability, home language, what you bring to the classroom. Nickleby ensured that schools had what they needed to push students and meet all kids. So then that expired in 2015. So the current law that we're under is Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA. So this advances equity for disadvantaged students. Once again, it provides and requires high standards for children to succeed not only in college, but also at careers. And this was for the first time. It also ensures that information is being shared with families, educators, students, and the communities through what we call these high stakes assessments or these annual statewide assessments. It also sustains and expands preschool access because we know that children come to us with a foundation. If they're lacking that foundation, it's hard to shore them up. But we still need to do whatever we can because they will become members of society and you want them prepared. It also maintains an expectation for accountability and action to affect positive change in our lowest performing schools. So high stakes assessments is nothing new and it does not end with the classroom. You have high stakes assessments when you take licenses or certifications. Most of us have a driver's license. We took a high stakes assessment to get that license. Realtors, financial advisors, trainers, accountants, pilots, even flight attendants have to take high stakes assessments. Cosmetologists, and every one of us sitting here took those teacher exams for our credentials in content and in general knowledge. So students ready for success, not only in our classroom, but for their entire life, and to face the challenges of these high stakes assessments, and taking advantage of the digital world in which they live, the 21st century. That is one of the best solutions that we have. So let's take a moment to chat. And in your chat box, I want you to tell me, what resources do you and your students use to support and reflect on standards mastery? So what resources do you and your students use to reflect and support standards mastery? So I will wait for Devanshi to start sharing some of these wonderful comments.
Yes, I can feel everyone typing, so we'll get some good responses soon.
Okay, just anything that comes to mind. Just the first thing, a
We
resource.
have, yes, we have ZDOESOL. Haven't heard of
Could that person unmute
those
for a quick
goals.
second? Because I'm not familiar with that
Thomas,
resource.
you wouldn't mind?
Standards. So Virginia Department of Education, SOL, Standards of Learning. The Virginia Department of Education, Standards of Learning. So those are the
Ah,
goals set by the state.
excellent.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. Learned something new today. We have Stephanie, who wrote benchmark checkpoints throughout the year to check for mastery. Katrina wrote that they use anchor charts and review them before they begin each lesson. Brenda wrote formative assessments, fixed assessments. We have exit tickets, hands-on investigations, diagnosis tests, USAs, SSQs, and Florida standards. Gregory wrote daily practice drills. I think that's what we've got so far, Ava.
Excellent, excellent. And I apologize, everyone, that I am not on camera, but you will see me again. I want to make sure, because my internet's a little unstable, but these are all wonderful, wonderful resources. So I heard standards checkpoints. So here are some standards aligned assessments that I find in EduSmart to be so robust and wonderful, because it's very important when we're looking at quizzes and checkpoints that they are, as was stated by several people, you're using your state documents that guide you in terms of the expectations that teachers should be, how the teachers should be, well, not how they're teaching it, but to what depth they should be teaching it and the rigor. So when you come across assessments, quizzes, tests, you want to make sure that they are meeting the same rigor as the state expects. So these quizzes can be done paper or pencil or online. And the beauty of online assessments is that you get immediate feedback. And students should be seeing, whenever you're giving them items, they should look and feel like the state assessment. So keep that in mind when you are selecting your checkpoints. Tutorials are also, so apart from trying to understand what the students know, you also want to be able to provide them support to bridge the gap in what they don't know. So tutorials are wonderful because they provide the students with content. And in this digital tutorial, known as Student Reviews by EduSmart, they also provide feedback to the students. So because they take little mini assessments throughout the tutorial, there are 3 questions, it will give them immediate feedback. If they select the wrong answer, it will prompt them to try again. And even when they select the correct answer, it will give them an explanation of why that answer is correct. It will also allow for read alouds to the student. And at the end, they get to reflect on their progress and their content understanding by giving them stars based on how many attempts they made to answer the question correctly and or how many they got correct. So it helps really for them to monitor their own progress on content understanding. Interactive concept builders, where this is robust, the more interactive you can make vocabulary for student acquisition, it is more sticking for the student because they will retain the understanding of the word and develop a rich vocabulary when it's more interactive. So the Word Explorer really does a phenomenal job of doing just that. It is highly visual. It allows students to check for understanding of science concepts, not only with these great visuals, but also kinesthetically, because they have to flip cards, they do drag and drop, and it also allows them to have some auditory cues. It is a game-like environment, so it keeps them very engaged. In this case, you'll see on the very top right, that red box where it prompts them to make a better selection. This is where I'm flipping the card or identifying concepts that match the term. In this case, they are looking at facts that are associated with the vocabulary term or concept. Check marks in green show they got it correct. They also have the opportunity to drag and drop terms to complete sentences. And when they're finished, it shows them their progress, which cards they have completed. So it's game-like. It allows them to identify various facts and build their understanding of the content based on these terms. Informational text, as we know, in Florida, it is 50% of the elementary reading assessment is informational text involving their science and social science content, and 60% in the 8th grade. So the beauty of these readers by EduSmart is that they have, again, phenomenal visuals for the visual literacy. It allows students to see the content as well as read about the content to make those connections. And then at the end, there are questions. So they have about 5 questions where they can respond to their conceptual understanding, and then they can make sure that they are grasping the content because it provides them with immediate feedback. Once again, it will score their responses, green for correct, red for incorrect. And students also can go back into the text or grasp concept. There are not only visual cues, but there's auditory support with read aloud features that come with these readers. So I don't know if you keep hearing me say monitoring student progress. I'm implying that students need to take ownership for their work and they can see their progress on the student dashboard. So in this case, the student can see how they're progressing in terms of this assessment and the word explorer that they completed. Oops. And here is an example of a standard that a teacher assigned a playlist, multiple resources in one assignment, and here's how the student performed. So we see that the student took 2 minutes on the first view. Those are those tutorials. On the second student review, they didn't spend any time, probably did not open it, and the same thing for the glossary. The reader was opened, but yet they scored 20% on the quiz. So this dashboard is what the student actually sees. The parents can also see this. And it will at least show the student, well, I haven't been doing my assignments, so maybe that's the correlation with the score that I am receiving at the end, which is a very poor score. So let's take a look at what the teacher sees. So the teacher sees the same thing as the student. You'll see the time on task for the student reviews, the glossary was open in this case, and the reader was opened, and you see the same 20%. But the teacher has these extra little orange buttons where for the reader, those questions at the end of the reader, you can see exactly what questions were missed by the student. And the readers have a wonderful short response section where you can see how students are able to explain themselves. So more than just multiple choice, but they get to write to explain their understanding of concepts. And then there is the quiz, and you can actually see the exact questions that the student missed based on the quiz. A beautiful pie chart, which tells you off bat, oh, that's a lot of red. That student needs a lot of help, even if you didn't want to dive into the individual questions. And then when you want to, because as we mentioned in the beginning, teachers, any way that time can be shaved off your workload is extremely helpful. So in this case, a progress monitoring tool is where you can see how your group is performing, not only on assignments, but also on assessments. So at a quick glance, you can see how many students were assigned a specific test, how many of them completed it, and then what the average score was. So that can tell you how to reflect on your instructional planning. Do you need to revisit if the entire class is not as successful? And maybe you need to move forward and only assign certain remedial concepts to certain students based on the overall class performance. So teaching, again, is very cumbersome, and tools that provide immediate feedback, especially digital tools, helps to make our life that much easier. I cannot tell you enough how many times students would come to me, because I left the classroom in 2000 before we had all these wonderful technologies available, and there were stacks of papers, and students, as soon as you gave them an assignment, they wanted to know immediately, how did I do? How did I do? What's my grade? So the beauty of using platforms that are LMSs like EduSmart, it provides them with that immediate feedback. So I hope now that you are better able to plan for success with your students on these high stakes assessments, identify and access quality standards aligned resources that students will see on that high stakes assessment, and facilitate their success beyond your classroom, prepared for the next grade and the future and their careers. Reflect on instructional practices. And I just want to reiterate that this is done from day 1 to not only 160 when we have the test to take, but all the way through to 180, especially those grade levels that do not have science assessed that year. Because remember, the content that you're learning is going to be applicable in the year that it is assessed. So I can speak for Florida. K4 isn't assessed in science, but that 5th grade, you're going to see some content from 3rd and 4th grade, those foundational years. And in 8th grade, That is that heavy lift grade where they're going to see 6th and 7th grade content. So we can't afford not to continue having instruction for our students every single day of the school year. So with that, I have finished my presentation. And if there are any questions, happy to entertain them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rosales, for your presentation. As she said, please put your questions or unmute if you would like to ask Dr. Rosales any questions you might have. And not only Dr. Rosales, we have many of our EduSmart experts on the call. Please bring, and your peers are also here, so please bring your hardest questions and let's put Dr. Rosales on the spot a little bit. What questions can we have for you, Dr. Rosales? Let's see.
So as the questions are coming in, I just want to give a shout out to that person who said, you prepare your students through hands-on. You have my heart. You have to do science to learn science. And EduSmart has some wonderful simulations and interactivities where I know during this time when we are distancing and not having students group together for hands-on, simulations and interactivities are really good for that.
Found that those simulations are excellent for the kids. There's nothing like hands-on, but they do a nice job in at least simulating some of the things that could be done hands-on. And during the pandemic education scenario, I'm finding it to be very, very helpful in my class. But I do have a question. I'm wondering if you could address this. There's no doubt in my mind that the entire EduSmart format is designed for computer-based learning, and it's mostly students doing this on their own. The challenge that I'm finding in the classroom is that the percentage of students who are actually doing the assignments is not where I would like it to be. My more productive students, they're the ones who are actually on and engaged in doing this. So my question is kind of like twofold. Number one, ideas on how to motivate students to actually do the assignments that are there, how to kind of broaden the field. Second question, anybody ever had an experience on taking some of these, particularly like student reviews or something like that, and making it a quick whole group review? Has anybody had any success or had any, I'd like some feedback on how that works, taking one of these computer-based things and turning into a quick whole group instruction. Any comments would be appreciated.
I'll kick off with the comments.
Question.
And then I'd love to have a teacher who's using the product as well to piggyback. So Gregory, absolutely. The instructional modules are geared just for that, for the teachers to lead it, whole group or small group, or even one-on-one with a student, because it has these natural pauses built in where it asks questions pertaining to content, and then the students have a chance to respond to you so that you can get an idea of what they're thinking, and then you can continue with the instruction. So they are the student reviews, except they're built for teachers to lead the instruction.
Okay, that has the initials IM in front of
Yes.
it. Okay, all right. I was not aware of that. Thank you. That helps.
Glad to be of help.
And as far as student engagement, if I could add, and thank you for the question, Gregory. We have the new Word Explorer, which is our vocabulary game that's very engaging. And it's encouraged it could be done whole group, but it could also be done individually, where the students get immediate feedback. And I believe Ava shared with you that there are 3 different opportunities within each vocabulary word that's presented in the form of a card game. and one is a visual, one is a factual type of question, and one is, as she said, is the drag and drop. We provide immediate response to the students for their responses to those questions within the card game. Also, the instruction module review or the student review provides stars. There are 3 questions with each review, within each review, and they get a star if their answer is correct on the first time. And if their answer is correct on the second time, they get a half a star. So we hope that they could get 3 stars because there are 3 questions, but it does give them immediate feedback. So both you know and the student knows how they're faring on those questions. Does that help?
Thank you. Thank you.
I saw a question why there is no SSA or FSA practice test on EduSmart for 8th grade. There is. The SSA practice test is there. It is at the bottom when you look at your landing screen where you pick your grade level and your body of knowledge. If you scroll all the way down when you're on 8th grade, you'll see SSA practice tests. There's a section A and a section B.
I'm trying to see if I can find a little bit of a user guide to answer that question. That might be a little helpful. Let me see if I can find that.
Could you repeat the question again? I'm
Um,
sorry, I could probably answer it.
Is there a grade
Absolutely,
8
Jerry.
SSA?
Oh, I cannot answer. That's a Florida question. I'm sorry. That would be
Yeah.
Arlene, maybe knows that.
So Savannah, I'm going to email you after the call because you should have access to the practice tests for Florida.
So there are 8th grade practice tests is what you're saying.
We can see, right?
Correct. And Katrina, I see a question from you or a comment. You had to ask for the 5th grade to be open. You're referring to the SSA practice test, I'm assuming, Katrina?
Even answer not they're not answering.
I'm sorry, I thought she was.
Okay.
Yes, I did. I had the slot for it, but the test wasn't in it. And Arlene was just incredibly helpful. Immediately, she got it to me, and we're still working out the kinks on what I'm going to do with it. But she was extremely helpful.
That's the same
But
with
they didn't.
ours. It's not showing up. This is Savannah. It's not showing up on any of the teachers' web pages.
I had
Okay.
to tell Arlene I didn't have it, and if I didn't have it, she
Okay.
got it for me immediately.
And Savannah, you're at Ruth Raines in Dixie County. I'm going to take
Yes, ma'am.
you and I'll email you and customer service. I'll take care of that when we get off the phone.
Okay, I'm not the only one either. Mr. Abby is also our other 8th grade teacher. His is not showing up. And I tried it on one of the 6th grade teachers' Edgenuity page, and it's not there either.
Edgenuity page.
I meant, sorry,
EduSmart
EduSmart,
page.
sorry.
Okay. So I will get this resolved and I'll CC you if you don't mind being the point person for Ruth Raines.
Perfect. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I apologize for this inconvenience.
No problem.
Thank you.
I
Any
wanted
other-
to mention that the gentleman who was mentioning, who was speaking earlier, I put a comment in here and I'd be glad to follow up with you about the instruction module companions. And I think it's great for further formative data. You're going to have 3 basically interactive science notebook pages that start with a closed procedure, fill in the blanks that follows along with the instruction module. So you have the visual literacy for the kids and you can discuss that. So you can lead that with the kids and then they fill in the blanks that goes right along with the vocabulary presented, covering all the concepts in order of the instruction module. Then it goes to a graphic organizer that they fill in that further breaks down the difficult science concept. And then they can use all of what they've experienced so far to complete a journal prompt that is also further broken down. That's for each and every science standard in the Texas as well as the Florida product.
Thank you, Jerry.
I love all of this. Solving all our problems, getting questions asked. I love it.
And Katrina provided a good use for the assignments. She indicated she uses it as a whole group, and then the quizzes as part of the group work. We have 3 options for the quizzes. You could print them out. You could assign them digitally, and or now we have like a Kahootizing option as well. I'm hoping you guys are taking advantage of all 3 of those.
So I just want to add that there were a lot of other resources that I did not highlight. I selected only the resources that give the teacher immediate feedback through the LMS to help to support the students, and for the students, for them to get immediate feedback. But thank you for all the questions, because there is a lot more to the LMS and the product that was not necessarily discussed in the presentation. Devanshi, can we do that poll again? Let me see if anybody has changed their mind, and whether you now love
Everyone's
HighStakes
loving assessment.
Now that we have all the
fun because
support.
we're talking about assessments, and now I'm giving you all an assessment. What did you learn? Did you learn anything in this last hour? Okay, we're relaunching the quiz.
But this is a low stakes assessment because
Low stakes.
we don't know who is responding to what. Still not a fan. Ah. Okay, a higher percentage who think that they both love them and not a fan.
This is great. We'll let it go for a few more seconds. And I think we got them all.
Excellent. So we're now 92%. Thank you so much, everyone.
Do we have any more questions, comments, sharing of stories that you've helped your students out by some sort of way? Any more questions? If not, you definitely have all of our contact information on your screen right now. So please reach out to any of us with any questions, concerns, or any way we could help you out. We would love to hear that. Or respond to the email you'll be getting tomorrow afternoon with anything else that we could help you with.
In the help menu, you'll find help videos that refer to the reporting that teachers and students can access. So both teachers and students can access the usage and performance data. And those appear a little differently. Teachers have a very advanced way to check data. They can drill down by student, or they can go by group. They can also export an Excel file that makes it easy to take their scores on either the quizzes or some of the tests that Miss Ava was showing you, that it can be popped right into your electronic gradebook.
Thank you, Jerry.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody.
Anything else you'd like to say, Dr. Rosales, Dr. Kaur? Any last comments? Perfect. Very well. It looks like those are all the comments and questions we have for today's webinar. Again, thank you all so much for joining us today. Your questions, your comments have been fantastic. I think hands down one of my favorite Q&A sessions ever for anything. Thank you, Dr. Rosales, for your fantastic presentation. That was fantastic. Thank you, Arlene, and thank you, Jerry, for your help today. Thank you, Mark, for all your support in the background. We appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful high stakes assessment season. And if there's anything we can help you with, again, please reach out to us. We will see you all at our next webinar. Have a good one.